The Pewtercast is sponsored by huntakiller.com, an immersive murder mystery experience like no other. You can save 20% on your first box when you subscribe by using the code Pewtercast at checkout. And we'd like to thank huntakiller.com for their support of the show. Welcome to the Pewtercast. I am Brent Allen, your host, and this is our Buc in the News show for Week 6. Our beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneers are taking on the Carolina Panthers for the second time this year, only this time for a home game. They're not at home. They're doing it over in London. Here to talk about everything that has happened over the course of this week as we get ready for this game. It's not just me, it's also my good friend Ren Dax. Ren, how's it going, buddy?
Jolly good. Best mate. Tosser.
A bit of a tosser. Well, hey, listen, we'll be talking about tossing some people because Buccaneers made quite a few transactions this week. Last week, we were talking a little bit about how kind of the team that we've had has sort of really been the team that stayed, but there were definitely quite a few transactions that have happened. Guys, like we said, this is the show where we talk about everything that's happened over the course of this week, things that have affected the team. Transactions are one of those. Other things we're going to talk about are some of the headlines that have come out this week, looking at maybe some of the press conferences to see if there's anything we can glean from that. And then we'll take a look at the injury report, how that's going to affect the game. We'll take a look at the game for sure. We'll talk about our predictive inactives, the thing that only you and I care about, Ren. But that is what we have on deck for tonight's episode.
Let's get it rolling.
All right.
G'day, mate.
G'day, mate. No, that's the wrong country. Oh. That's the one where the bad guys went. That's where all the prisoners went.
Botany Bay.
At the Botany Bay with Khan. Anyway.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, anybody pulls that reference.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I meant the original Botany Bay.
The actual, like, real place that you can go.
This is SETI Alpha 6!
It's supposed to be SETI Alpha 5. All right, let's move on. Hey, transactions. Let's talk about them. There was quite a few, Ren, including one that just happened, like, today. It's not, like, it happened so fresh, it's not even actually on the report. But let's back up. We're actually going to go back to before last week's game, but it was after last week's Buc in the News show. Ryan Smith had been activated to the exempt list. And turns out on Saturday, they activated him to the active roster so he could play on Sunday. And they released Damone Harris, who has been, mostly on the inactive list, I think, throughout most of these weeks.
The only times he's made it off the inactive list was because of injury.
Right. Yeah. He kind of got pushed off.
Yeah.
But he cleared waivers and the team actually brought him back. So he is still with the team. Damone Harris is the outside linebacker. To make room for him, first of all, let's back up, Ren. Ryan Smith came in. Mm-hmm. I'll be honest, it's been almost a week now. Did you notice Ryan Smith out there? Did he, did it seem to make much of a difference with him being out there? How did he play? I mean, he's 4 weeks out in suspension.
I think he only played on special teams.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember him. I don't remember seeing anything. That's why I'm asking. So
I really don't remember either. And I wasn't purposely looking for him.
Right.
But I think he filled in for Jamel Dean's gunner spot.
Okay.
That's been open since he went down in week 3 or something like that. So, it was fine, and I'm glad we got Harris back because he was one of those high effort edge guys, like you said, outside linebacker. He plays the Carl Nassib / Shot Barrett spot. And, it was just, high effort, high motor, always going, never takes a play off. And, coaches like those type of guys and so does fans. So, I'm glad that he's still around and everything works out for him. He'll have another shot to make the team next year in training camp.
Yeah. And you never know what may happen throughout the rest of the year. You got to assume he's probably at the top of the list to be brought up should an injury happen or something like that. So that is Damone Harris. Now, to make room for him, we actually have a handful of practice squad signings. There's only one that really jumps out to me, but just to run through them real quick. To make room for Damone Harris, they released wide receiver Ishmael Hyman from the practice squad. They also released a running back, Tony Brooke James, and signed Darius Jackson. Allen, who I think was part of a tryout that they had earlier in the week.
It's not Darius. Yes, it is Darius. Okay.
Yeah, I have Darius, but it is okay. But then the other one that I found a little bit more notable was they released Nick Fitzgerald, the quarterback, who had been with us through camp and then got injured playing beach volleyball, and then wasn't with us through camp, but he still made or he didn't make the team, but he got brought back as a practice squad. But they let him go and they signed quarterback Chad, probably not going to say it right, Kanoff, who I guess this is his second year in the league. Was with the Cardinals and the Lions between 2018 and 2019.
He is Ryan Fitzpatrick Light.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
He's a Ivy School quarterback. He's from Princeton.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
One Ivy, I don't know if it was Ivy League MVP or what. It doesn't matter. It's Ivy League, so
right.
I won Offensive Player of the Year in Ivy League. So what?
Right.
But he's bounced around a little bit, and that the running back you talked about, Darius Jackson, he was actually drafted by the Cowboys a few years ago. So people have liked his talent, so he's in here, which is it's a nice upgrade. So quarterback, running back, and then you said someone else they signed. I forgot.
It was Damone Harris was the other one.
Damone Harris.
Yeah, but I do want to mention this before the big transaction we'll get to in just a second. But they also waived wide receiver KJ Brent. Now, I couldn't remember if he was on the active roster or if he was on the practice squad. I went to look it up, and I mean, this happened a day ago. He's not on. They've already taken him off of wherever he was, so I don't remember where he was. Do you happen to know? Because I have not found a correlating transaction. And if he came off of one or the other, that means we're either a man short on the practice squad or a man short on the active roster, and I'm not sure which one it is.
He was not on the active roster, or we would have been sitting forever.
Right.
I think the reason it's waived instead of released, I think he was one of those. Was he one of those guys that had the special secret spot on the practice squad where you're not practice squad eligible?
It's funny. I got to be honest. I'm more interested in the concept of having a special practice squad eligibility person than I am about the actual person who's filling that spot.
Yes.
That's more fun to talk about to me, I think, than whoever it actually is. So, so maybe we have an open spot on our practice squad. Cool. Fine. We'll see what happens with that. The big transaction, though, the big thing, I don't want to say it sent shockwaves as much as it sent maybe a lot of people going, that makes sense. They released linebacker, safety, money backer Deon Buc'In.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
And
a little early.
Do what?
A little early.
You think so?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that they're wrong, but it feels like it's a little early. Unless they really like this kid that they brought in.
Noah Dawkins.
Yeah.
Signed him from Cincinnati's practice squad.
Yeah. He's about 6 foot, runs like a 4.4 140, or at least he did it his pro day. He comes from one of the directional Michigan schools, Eastern, Southern, Western. I don't know which one. And so, the Bucs got to get faster in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, but I've been saying this for a little while now.
Yeah.
The middle of the field's open.
How's that pool treating you there, Ren?
How's what?
How's the pool?
It didn't fill up as much as I thought it would.
Oh, yeah?
But just wait. I mean, I think everyone's waiting. If Kyle Allen throws for 300 and a couple of picks and Greg Olsen gets, or a couple of TDs and Greg Olsen gets them both through the middle of the field, I might get Damone Harris out of my own pool. It's pushed right off into the sunset. But
I mean, just to go on to that, and I know I don't know if we're kind of jumping around, but you mentioned Greg Olsen maybe catching those, which I suppose could probably happen. But from a conversation you and I had earlier in the week, it seems like they've been using Greg Olsen mainly as an extra offensive lineman. So I don't know if it's going to be him catching it or somebody else. But for those of us who have Greg Olsen on our team, fantasy wise, just a heads up.
Yeah, they've had some problems. I mean, the guy that Shaq Barrett went up against in the Carolina game where he got 4 sacks is now playing guard.
Right.
And they have they're mash unit their offensive line together, and to bolster that, to keep Kyle Allen upright, they're keeping in Greg Olsen more than normal, to run out on those routes. So,
and just as evidence of that, Greg Olsen scored 0 points in fantasy last week.
Sure.
Which is not the norm.
Do you have Greg Olsen?
I do. Yeah, on a couple of teams. So anyway, go ahead.
I can finish now.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. I don't even remember. If Allen ends up throwing in the middle of the field and being open, it's all started talking about the middle of the Buccaneers defense getting faster. I think White. We hope that White's gonna really help that with the speed. Not that Kevin Minter has played bad or terrible. You can even say he's played good or better than you thought he would.
Mm-hmm.
But there needs to be a speed backer in the middle of that field. Plus, the reason I said it was early for cutting up Buc'In was because, Jack Sitchy's still hurt.
Right.
So it ended up when they brought in Hawkins, it ended up being 1-1. They're still a little thin at linebacker as far as depth is concerned. Maybe they like I said, they're afraid that Hawkins might go somewhere or someone else will pick him up because he's really there because of his speed.
Mm-hmm.
And see what they can do with him. If he just stick on the team, he might be gone in a week or two. Who knows?
Right.
But the biggest thing about releasing Buc'In, as long as you released him before week 9, is the Bucs would go ahead and, at least everyone's reporting. I don't really know how the formula works. I'm not sure anybody really knows how the formula works. Of course, I'm talking about the compensatory draft picks, but a lot of people are saying with the release of Buc'In, the Bucs will be getting an extra third this year.
Yeah, a third-round draft pick that is tradable. It is eligible to be traded. That is provided, though, that in the meantime they don't sign another comparable player. Does that make sense? Like it doesn't get them it right now. You have to wait till the end of the year and see how things go before they shake all that out. But as of right now, yes, we would have a third-round comp pick.
Yes, but I don't really know who's out there they're going to pay like $2.5 million to play anywhere. Well, I guess maybe cornerback.
Sure. So I had a question about this Dawkins guy, and for anybody out there listening, it is Dawkins with a D, but it's spelled otherwise exactly like Hawkins. So if you see him out there, that's the one. He comes to us from Cincinnati's practice squad. Now there are 2 teams in this league right now that are battling for that number 1 draft pick. One of them is the Miami Dolphins, which really might get it, but it's the Cincinnati Bengals as well. And my thought when I saw this was, and I hear you talking about his speed, so cool, but my thought was, if this guy wasn't quite good enough to make Cincinnati's roster, why are we signing him over a Deion Buchanan, who was a former first-round pick, could play multiple positions back there, at least that's what they tell us. Outside of the simple fact that, let's face it, over the first 5 weeks, what has Deion Buchanan really done in game? Like, we had lots of expectations for him, but what's he really done?
Yeah, we were expecting to see him some games play a lot, depending on the scheme they're running, and some plays, the scheme they're running, versus the team they're playing, and then some games not sort of showing up at all. But we're 5 weeks into this and he hasn't shown up at all.
Right.
So I don't really think it's much more of a I think it's more of, hey, we like Dawkins, let's bring him in here. We're not really going to be losing much, at the linebacker spot because Damon's not playing at all. He's not going to get in at safety. So, now his role's cut in half. And if we're not going to put him at linebacker, what's the point? Let's have him. Let's get rid of him. And like you said, as of right now, pick up a 3rd-round draft pick. Now, I'm not a big fan of the only good players out there on other people's practice squads or of good teams. It's about what you're looking for and what you can do. And I'm not really familiar with Cincinnati's linebacking core, but something you've heard me say, dozens of times on this show is like you can find linebackers anywhere.
Right.
It's like they're the new tweeners, man.
Right. They're just good athletes that didn't fit anywhere else, I think is what you normally say. Yeah.
Yeah. They can't rush the passer. They can't play defensive tackle, and they can't cover like a corner, and they can't run sideline to sideline like a safety.
Right.
What are you? You're your average Joe as far as NFL talent goes. You're a interior linebacker, and there are great ones out there. But it's like wide receiver for the offense. Like if a wide receiver goes down, you can find one.
We got one.
Yeah. Just go on your fantasy league and scroll the guys that are available free agency, and you'll find a couple out there that's got like 3 or 4 touchdowns and, hauling in, they're probably getting 8-9 points a game, and no one picks them up because everyone's got their 3 or 4 already.
Right. So, Ren, why don't we talk about our offensive line?
Sure.
And we'll start talking about this because there's a couple of different things to look at with this, but we'll start with, I guess, what is technically a transaction, although it hasn't even hit the official wire yet. At least not as far as the website is concerned where they put stuff out. In fact, it's so unofficial that Zach Bailey, who is our backup guard, who did travel, or I guess he was planning on playing with the team. Zach Bailey's been one of our perennial inactives, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Apparently he injured his ankle during practice this week. And do what?
Broke it.
Did he break it? So with that, they put him on IR. Went ahead and put him on IR and brought up Nate Traywin, I believe is how you say his name, from the practice squad. Greg Allman reports that Nate Traywin will play this weekend, even if it's only on special teams.
We'll see.
We'll see. But we have that. Now, that being said, our offensive line is not looking great right now as a whole. Because what this means is, by the way, Dotson is going to be out with a hamstring, which we knew. He went out last week. This isn't news. However, instead of having the 9 healthy offensive linemen that we normally have on the active roster, we are now actually down to 7. And that means that our starting line this week is going to be Donovan Smith, Ali Marpet, Ryan Jensen. Alex Kappa is out with an arm, a broken arm, and we'll talk about that more in just a minute. But that's going to bring in Earl Watford to start for him. And then Josh Wells, who came in for Dotson during the game last week, he will be starting at right tackle. Meaning our backups are Traywin, who just got promoted from the practice squad, and Gerald Hawkins, who has also been Mr. Inactive right next to Zach Bailey in an otherwise healthy situation. So here we are. Like, this is like all of our active linemen on the roster are going to be active for this game. And 2 of them are backups. And now we have backups to the backups as our backups.
Yep.
And that's where we are with our offensive line. On the right side, which, by the way, was also kind of that was the questionable side, if we remember going back through training camp and, preseason and even maybe some of the early games, like that was the side that we weren't really super sure about. So that's where we are. Now, I don't know, you would presume if we're down to 7 that the team is probably looking to bring in at least 2 more offensive linemen, be it either promoting from the practice squad, which I think the only offensive lineman on practice squad right now is Brad Seaton, if you remember that name, as a tackle.
I do.
But obviously they'll have to bring in people from somewhere, but that's where our offensive line is right now.
Yes.
Are you worried? Are you concerned?
No,
Are you
I'm
bothered?
Not. There you go. Hey, a question.
Yes.
It's like, I wanted to cut you off like way back in the way. You're like, the offensive line is looking good. I'm like, on what? Like, they had one bad game, protect the passer against the Saints. And, have you seen Earl Watford play?
I can't say that I have. I don't.
Have you seen Wells play?
Yes, I have.
Besides that one play where he gave a sack.
That I noticed him? No, that's fair. I mean, he played. I think he played the rest of the game.
Sack play before, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't. This is why coach them up, next man up. I know it sounds sort of cliche, but this is why these guys make their money. And I'm talking about Goodwin and the other guy that Lee Kemper hates.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to be worried until I see it. And then this is why Bruce Arians is a coach, and this is why, Byron Leftwich is the OC, and you get these guys and you put them in the room with the offensive line coach and you scheme around it. Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to have, like, all teams do it. All good teams do it. Mm-hmm. Just because, one of your players go down, you don't pull the ripcord and be, oh my God, it's going to be terrible. The offensive line is a huge question going into the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you said you're right. Like, the right side was more questionable because Dot's age and Kappa didn't really look great.
Right.
Well, Donovan Smith didn't exactly have a stellar year, a consistent year on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
No one talks about Donovan Smith anymore. Ali Marpet's Ali Marpet. Jensen, who looked like he was stealing from the Glazers last year,
mm-hmm.
now looks like, he's worth the money that they paid him.
Right.
Kappa went from couldn't beat out Beninock to, like, no one mentions his name because he doesn't do anything wrong. He doesn't jump outside. He doesn't hold. Doesn't give up a lot of sacks. Sure, he gets beat every once in a while. Everybody gets beat every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still really, as far as games played and even plays played in the NFL, he's still a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
And Dot's Dot, when he faces stiffer competition, he's going to fold. He's just going to break. He's old. He'll hold up for, 3 quarters, 3.5, and then he just can't, his batteries run out.
Hey, I mean, you said, I think it was the instant cast, Ren, Dotson just played his last play in the NFL.
I said he played, his last game for the Bucs. And that may or may not be true. He might be back in there, but I'd bet your house that he's not a Buccaneers he's not a Buc next year. And it's nothing against Dot. It's just an upgrade does need to be made.
Yeah.
It's a little bit criminal that there isn't a guy back there already pushing him, but can only fill so many holes, and he doesn't have a contract next year, and that's the biggest thing.
Right.
So and Dot
he'll be expensive to re-sign.
What's that?
I said Dotson will be expensive to re-sign. He's not going to want to.
No, he will not.
You don't think so?
No. How many times have you heard him say, like, screw the other guys, screw the coaches? I got to find, like, he's a player that will say out loud that he doesn't care about certain things. He's the one who needs to get the job. Like, when coaches get fired, he doesn't care about that. He cares about, he's like, I gotta keep my job, Yeah. So he knows at the end of his rope, and if he could hang on for another year and make $900,000, he'll do it.
You think so?
Yeah. He ain't gonna do it with us, though.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, well, what, he's not gonna play for $900,000?
I don't know. Put his body through that one more year for less than $1 million when his counterparts are making a lot more than that.
That's not Dotson's mindset. Dotson doesn't care about quality of life. He cares about. He's like one of those people, and I don't know if this is true or not, but you could kind of make the connection since he showed up to training camp in sneakers and didn't have any cleats. That he didn't grow up in means.
Right.
When he was trying to make the team as an undrafted free agent, he showed up at a tryout and he had basketball shoes. Like, he didn't even have a set of cleats. He has done great for himself. But there are certain people that have the mindset that it's like, and I don't mean to make this correlation, I do, but if it's untrue, forgive me. You know how people like grew up in the Depression and hangs on to everything because they grew up without anything.
Right.
So like everything was valuable. Like they have like a huge ball of tinfoil somewhere in their house. A shoebox full of like rubber bands. They just hang on to everything because when they were growing up, a rubber band was a big deal. It could serve a lot of purposes of things that broke in the house or around the house. It could do stuff. So I just kind of feel that's how Dot is. It's like he's going to hang on by hook or by crook. If you want to pay him $900,000, I'll do it. What's one more year? And let's face it, he's gonna get hurt if he gets to play at all, and he'll be out half the year anyway. That's sort of his MO.
Right. Right. Yeah. That was the other thing we said was, there's his couple of games off right there.
Yeah. There's his injury.
So, but you don't think he's gonna be back. So, but to wrap all this back around, to bring it back to what you were saying though, so you're not really worried about the offensive line. It just you're not worried until you see it, I guess is what really.
Yeah, I'm not taking a failure attitude with them because of the coaching staff.
I got to tell you, I hear what you're saying.
Yep.
I'm still nervous about this now.
Sure.
Like this still doesn't sit well with me. I don't know much about this Gerald Hawkins guy. The fact that they signed him a week or so later, brought in this Josh Wells, and Josh Wells has been the guy over this Gerald Hawkins, doesn't put a lot of faith to me in this Gerald Hawkins guy. Traywin coming up from practice squad.
They're not playing.
But they're right. But should something happen to one of these guys going down, because like I said, we now have the backups to the backups in there.
So you're worried about possibly someone going down and then that person going in. That's what you're worried about?
I'm worried. First I'm worried about the guys who are in there for sure. Watford, as you said, we've never seen him play, so I don't know. I mean, that's pure. I'm worried just for what I don't know. I don't know. Ren, you were at training camp. You saw these guys before anything. Yeah. How did Watford look in training camp?
He looked like Demir Dotson at guard.
You're not giving me a lot of faith here in this guy, Red.
Yeah, Dot's all right.
Yeah, DeMar Dotson at guard. Okay,
he gets beat.
Yeah,
more than he should for a right tackle, probably. But he hasn't got a lot of holding penalties this year. Dot's been solid. Probably.
He has. I'm not trying to poo-poo on Dotson. He really for a lot of years has been a very solid, very serviceable would be an insult to say to him. Like he's been he's been better than serviceable.
They're serviceable, and whatever the next one is up, he's not there yet. But he's better than serviceable.
I wouldn't say that, but you did.
I would. But Watford's like another Dot. He's just hanging around. collecting a paycheck.
All right. And from what you did see from Josh Wells for the, one quarter or whatever?
Josh Wells wasn't on the team.
Yeah. No, but I mean, we saw him for like a quarter in this past game, which I know isn't a huge sample size, but I mean, still.
I'm putting it in like, give him this is, another being an optimistic fan thing. I'm like, let him practice for a week with the number ones, with the ones, and see what he can do. What's this guy? Trey. I always want to say Treyu. Treyu.
Foul call.
with his luck dragon,
right.
Got called up from the practice squad.
Right. Did you hear that they found that thing like in some like dead prop area? Like it was just sitting there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Like the luck dragon thing. Like they found the head and Anyway, sorry, way off topic.
Sure.
Bring it back.
So I thought he was undersized and sometimes would get overpowered, but for the most part, he held up okay. I thought, Atreyu did, but when the darkness, or was it the nothing?
The nothing, yeah.
So the nothing's crashing down on you. You're gonna have some tense moments where you don't look as good as you should. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, he's just a little undersized, but he tries so hard. He seems to know where he's. It looks like watching him, he knows what he wants to do. He's more of a thinking man's, player. He's an interior guy. So guard center. He played a lot of center actually in training camp, if I remember correctly. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my God, I'm so worried about the offensive line. Now Carolina's got a good front. I don't think they're as good as the Saints. They're probably, sort of like maybe around the Rams are. I think Brian Burns is getting way more glory than he should, but that's probably because I live in Florida and a lot of people, that
right.
People that I follow on Twitter and follow me a lot of them are Florida State fans. So it's like Brian Burns this, Brian Burns that. And I'm like, he's all right. He's, it's like he returned. He got a touchdown. Yes, someone sacked him. The ball fell out. He picked it up and ran it in. It's like,
right.
It's like, what did Sue do in that Rams game? It's like giving all the credit to Sue. And he's gotten some sacks, but I feel like he's fell into them. But anyway, it's not that he's not dangerous. I'm just not as hyped. Shorts out for the year. So we got Addison, McCoy, Irving, Burns. They're solid. But what really makes their front seven formidable is Kuechly and I was going to say Shaq Barrett. It's not it. What the hell's his name? He's on the injury list. It's probable Shaq Thompson.
Yeah,
I believe that's who it is.
Yeah,
those are the guys that sort of make that defense go. And but the Panthers are real susceptible to the run, so that's what I expect. I expect a heavy dose of remember the Joaquiz Rogers was it Monday night Panthers game, like Dirk's first year, we went 9-7, and Quiz Rogers got the ball like 33 times. We got like 101 yards.
Did he really? I don't remember that.
And Maguire hit the game winner. Like we won.
Yeah,
like
I remember that one. Yeah, I remember
that's
that.
Same game.
Okay.
Same game. I have a feeling that's the game we're going to see.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, you got to figure out a way to win, Like Dirk
Right.
Cutter knew his defense was terrible, so he kept them off the field as much as possible because he knew they could run against the Panthers. Like the Panthers, something like 3rd or 5th or 6th in pass defense, but they're also like 2nd or 3rd in run defense, as in people running all over them. So I expect a big dose of Jones and Barber and keep the ball out of their hands. And I know we're jumping forward, but even when Carolina gets the ball, I'm predicting 2 fumbles from this Allen kid. He can't hang on to the ball,
right?
And a pick. And I think we win an ugly game like 24-17.
All right, so here's a question while you're on that particular topic.
Sure.
Shaq Barrett needs one more sack to kick over an extra $250,000 bonus that is part of his contract. Is this the week he gets that $250,000, you think?
Well, if it was facing the same guy, you would say yes. But now he's playing guard, so I don't know. What I want to see out of sort of that pass rush is someone else make a sack, not named Shaq Barrett.
Okay.
That's what I'd like to see.
Sure.
Sure. I'd like to see pressure on the quarterback from somebody not named Shaq
Finally
Barrett.
get Nassib in there or something.
Nassib get a tackle. Vita Vea, hey, get your hands on somebody.
Right.
Beat somebody.
Yeah.
Like beat a one-on-one.
Right.
So that's what I'd like to see. I think it's going to be 2 teams that are going to try to control the ball and play sort of West Coast style dink and dunk, don't lose the game type of offense.
You think the Buccaneers are going to play a dink and dunk kind of deal? Because we haven't seen that yet so far.
Well, because we're missing the right side for a line.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, let's see. Let's see what happens. I know a lot of people have been calling, not just this year, but I mean, obviously in previous years as well, to really take advantage of the dink and dunk. And I remember when Arians got hired, that was one of the, I guess, pauses that some people would say is, hey, remember, Arians also uses these long developing deep ball routes like Cutter did. Neither one of them really did the dink and dunk. So we'll see. We'll see. As you're right, the right side of our line is very much missing. I do wonder, though, if they're going to do something, and by they, I mean Goodwin and Arians and those guys, if they're going to do something similar to what the Panthers are doing and bring in that extra tight end kind of maybe as a sixth offensive lineman to help bolster that right side. In which case, if that's a Cam Brate or even an O.J. Howard, it's probably not going to bode well for their stats this week. But why don't we move on past this offensive line, Ren? Speaking of O.J. Howard, lots of people saw this out there. I know you and I saw this out there. O.J. Howard makes a barehanded catch at the Rays game, goes completely unnoticed until somebody taps the announcer on the shoulder and says, hey, you know who that is, right?
Yeah.
Right? But, lots of people going off on this of saying, hey, he's now caught the exact same number of balls that for the Rays as he has for the Buccaneers this year.
Yeah, like he has just as many receptions in Tropicana Field as he does in the Superdome.
Right.
Yeah. Mine was maybe we should make Austin Meadows the guy who hit it,
right,
the offensive coordinator, because apparently he can get OJ the ball.
Right. Some people talking about him breaking his hand. There he goes on IR for the year. Different things like that.
Yeah, I thought that, but I would never tweet that out.
Right. No, we would have heard about that by now.
No, but I thought like, oh great. Well, just reach out for a foul ball. You're $9 million player.
Yeah.
Broke your hand. Now your season's over. And by the way, aren't you supposed to be in bed? By the way,
supposed to be getting ready for this London game, man.
Yeah, they were supposed to be on this be in bed at 9 o'clock thingamadooker.
Fix your 5-hour, flight difference. Jeez.
Yeah, so I didn't go that route.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
But it was a cool moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. It's just a cool moment. Hey, speaking of something else kind of cool, Devin White, he's back this week.
Yes.
He's back starting this week. What do you think we're going to see out of Devin White?
I have no idea.
Exactly. I mean, because we really don't have enough of Devin White, at least in the NFL, in his rookie year.
He didn't come out of the blocks hot.
No, he didn't. Right.
And I want to say this, and you guys can do whatever you want, but I do want to say this, that if he doesn't have a great game in the middle, and the middle's still wide open, do not tweet me and be like, oh, well, I guess he's a bust. Like, just like give him more than that would be, make a total of 9 quarters he's played, as an NFL player. I'm hoping, of course, that he helps close, does his part to close down that middle or be able to cover the tight ends. I would say something like being able to cover the McCaffreys, the Kamaras, but we're doing that without him. So that's not really it doesn't feel like his presence is needed. Of course it's needed, but it's not wanting, in that sort of area. So if he has a bad game and the middle's still open and Greg Olsen still catches some passes or whoever tight end it might be, do not at me, telling me he's a bust or, Devin White didn't fix it or, like back to the drawing board or we're drafting linebackers next year or we need a corner. Like, just don't. Like, give him some time.
I'm putting the over-under on the number of people who actually do that now just because you said that at 6.
Okay.
Should that happen. Don't do it, guys. Don't do it. It's fine. He's still a rookie. Oh, my gosh. All right. Hey, speaking of Christian McCaffrey, though, you were talking about, you mentioned him just a minute ago. Apparently, he has a really sore back. Aww.
Don't care. He's going to play.
He is going to play. And Ron Rivera says he's fine. He's going to play. Probably shouldn't practice any wrestling moves for a while, but he is going to play. All right. Where should we go next? Hey, JPP, speaking of, you wanted to see somebody else make a sack. JPP should be returning to practice next week.
That's his plan.
He was spotted at One Buc on the sidelines in his jersey.
Yeah.
So,
that's the plan.
Yeah.
I will say I'm pleasantly surprised that it's been going this well and that he'll be back this soon.
Not a lot of people thought that he'd be back this soon.
No.
They really didn't.
Now, there were certain points where, people were like, he broke his neck. I'm like, he didn't break his neck. he has a slight hairline crack in the nub on top of one of his vertebrae that happens to be in his neck. But of course, the society we live in today, we get to take.
Technically that's his neck, and technically he broke it, Ren. So he broke his neck, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right. I mean, nobody's lying. No headlines are overhyping it at all, or making it sound like something it's not.
No, those two are true.
Right.
Yeah, so we get to do that because that's the norm, and that's how you get tweets and all that kind of stupid stuff. But anyway, having said all that, I'm pleasantly surprised that he's back. I'm feeling confident. I feel real confident that he's going to come back and actually contribute this year. Yeah, and hopefully by the time he gets back, we'll be at no worse than 500, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with Shaq Barrett and Nassib and those three guys, because those three guys should all be on the field at the same time.
How do you do that? I mean, I guess you move JPP inside, but who goes out?
Or stand up Barrett inside next to JPP. Run a 5-2.
Yeah. That could be interesting. That'd be real interesting to see. And I mean, the thing for JPP, obviously, he is a professional, a professional's professional. He's he's professional, so he's going to come in. He's going to play to the best of his ability. But the other thing to also consider is with his change in contract, the renegotiated contract, where he comes up as a free agent at the end of this year, he is going to be looking to put some film on tape. Nope. Put some stuff on film. He wants people to come back and re-sign him. So he is going to come out and be motivated to play. So that is also good as well, I think, for both sides. So yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, Ren, I've got the feel-good story of the week, and I've got the Are We Calling BS story of the week. Which one do you want to go with next?
Let's go with the feel-good, because I feel that one's going to be short.
All right, so the feel-good story, yep, sure did. Feel-good story of the week, Buccaneers are in London, where it is rainy, windy, and cold. Yeah. I don't know if we should care at all, or if we should worry about that at all. Buccaneers tend to not do well in cold weather, but, whatever. This is a different team. But apparently the Buccaneers are out there practicing, and Mike Evans looks over and he sees some kids like watching the team through the gate. I guess it was like a chain link fence or something like that.
Bunch of vagabonds.
Right. But rather than having them shoot away, he goes over and actually invites them in, or makes sure that they can get in so that they can come watch practice. Mike Evans. What a guy.
Yeah. I read now that they're from a nearby orphanage.
Oh, really?
No.
And they...
Please, Mike. Please, Miss Evans. Can I have some more?
Can we have some more? Yeah.
Have some more, Miss Evans.
So,
yeah, you're right. That's about all I got, man. Yeah. I tried to make a joke, and yep, he did. Next.
Yeah. Mike Evans, he's a good guy. All right. And I mean that sincerely. He is. All right. This is the Are We Calling BS story of the week.
Can I vote now?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, it's BS.
Okay. So, we all know, and we talked about this with Scott Smith on our Final Thoughts episode earlier this week. BA made a comment after the game in that immediate press conference, sort of his instant cast type thing, where he said, we got some players that are soft. They're just soft back there. Just people playing soft. Whatever the actual quote was. I probably should have pulled it out.
I'm going to write an email to the Buccaneers and ask them to rename the post-game presser the Instacast.
BA's Instacast. And we asked Scott Smith about that because lots of people took off on that. Trevor Sikkema over at pewterreport.com even named his cover 3. Here's how they're playing soft. Talk about that. But Scott kind of, he did the little spin on it that like you would expect him. And he said, listen, BA wasn't saying that the players were soft, but that they were playing soft on that particular day. Okay, sure, fine. Todd Bowles comes out, though. He does his press conference, and they ask him about that exact same coverage. And what he said was it's the scheme that is called off coverage. Sometimes it actually probably should be press, and that's really what BA. In fact, to quote him, I'll read the quote. He says, it's not so much a mentality thing. In certain situations, we probably need to be up as opposed to being off in coverage, giving up some easy throws. So it's a softness from that standpoint. He, meaning Bruce Arians, wasn't really talking about the physicality of it. It's not quite what Scott Smith said, right? Now,
and it's not quite what BA said.
And it's not what BA said. Right. So, was BA just talking out of turn, and he probably really shouldn't have said what he said?
Who cares? Like this, there's always a few times a year where, and they have gotten infinitely better. And not that, I'm all the be all end all, but when I first started watching like every press conference,
right.
And this was Dirk Cutter's first year when I got really deep into it, like the questions that were asked of him, there was lots of like, he would say something and then they just wouldn't follow up with it. And it's like, wait, whoa, wait. Like, we need to find out about this, like this question needs to be asked. And every once in a while, and it's gotten fewer and fewer as, as our show's gotten longer and longer. And of course, I'm not saying they're listening to what I'm saying. But I said this in previous podcasts this week, like that question needed to be asked from BA, not from Todd Bowles. You don't need to ask Todd Bowles. We don't need to ask, Scott Smith, who works for the team, works for the NFL. Someone needs to go to BA and go, what did you mean by that? And they've had like 3 chances to do it since then, and no one's had the cojones to say it.
Right.
They all say it on their own podcasts.
Right.
Oh, he meant he was soft. That's the worst thing you can say as a player. But no one will ask BA to clarify it, and that's disappointing to me as a fan, because now we're having to talk. This is something that this is what I liked about BA. This crap doesn't happen. The double timeouts. Hey, my bad, we wanted to spite us. You know what? Squashed it.
Right.
Didn't have to talk about it all freaking week about BA's old senile guy who can't remember he can't remember his defense coordinator called a timeout, and he's sick and like, he needs dementia. He needs to like wake up and eat, chocolate and honey, 70% cow's milk on the chocolate, because that really kickstarts the brain. Like all that crap, like,
Red's got the prescription over there.
And he knew the secondary. Like I was yelling about the secondary after the Rams game. He realized that the secondary, well, I'm sure he didn't know, but it became apparent that the secondary to the fans, that was a problem after the Rams game, after the Saints game, and he addressed it. And he's like, it wasn't a question to him. It was like, we're too soft.
Yeah.
And now you got this spin. Well, he did, it's like, he doesn't want to hurt their egos. He was just saying, like, Todd Bowles even makes it sound like it was his fault. Like, I'm calling off coverage when we should press. But BA said some. He's like, some guys are out there. Some are playing soft.
Right.
Well, if you call off coverage, some aren't playing press man and some aren't playing off.
Right.
So that comment goes BS out the window. And it was really the job of the guys in the room, guys and girls in that room, to go, hey, explain what you mean by soft. Now, BA probably a couple days later or a day later or whenever would have spun it and talked about maybe more along the lines what Todd Bowles said, but it's out there. Now we got people talking for somebody that said something, and he hasn't clarified yet because no one's had the balls to ask him to clarify it.
All right. Well, there you go. So, calling BS on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
because and here's the thing. You said who cares, and I think a lot of us do, because here's what we want. Is we want a coach who's going to come out and be honest with us, be honest with the players, be honest with the fans, and be honest with everybody. And we all walked out of that game going, these guys aren't doing what they need to do. Now, I may not be talking about, and BA might not have been talking about them as people, as individuals, and maybe Scott Smith was right in that they were playing soft, not them personally are soft, but it's more than just that day.
Yeah.
And it's been more than that day. And it's been more than just the play calls, the way Bowles is calling it. There are guys and there are players on this team that I suspect, and I'm sure Bruce has identified them, and this is what I like about Bruce Arians. He has identified them. He knows who he was talking about. I would dare say the players in the locker room know who he's talking about.
Yep.
And that was his warning of going, you're playing soft.
Yep.
You get it together or you ain't playing here anymore.
Yep.
And you step it up. And, BA is also famous for saying, listen, this isn't my team, it's the players' team. They got to hold each other accountable. And, who knows what has been said in that locker room. Hopefully a lot of stuff has been said in that locker room and in those team meetings this week, and maybe even on that damn airplane. But that's why it matters. And I'm tired of, and I mean nothing against Scott or Todd Bowles or any guys like that, but I'm tired of people trying to spin this to be something that it so clearly isn't,
Yeah, yeah.
And to your point, and you're absolutely right, Ren, this is where the guys in the media room and girls, whoever's in the people in the media room, when they're sitting in front of BA, they need to ask that question. Unless they got an email from Nelson saying, hey, don't bring this up, which happens sometimes, I think.
Which, by the way, So what?
Well, they don't want to lose their credentials. But,
Yeah, that's a bunch of crap, man. That's like,
well, I don't know if they would have said that. The only time that I know for sure they've ever said that is back when Jameis was suspended, and they let Jameis do like an interview with somebody, and they said, "Look, don't talk about the suspension."
Yeah,
they made that off limits, but
but it wasn't like a press conference. It was on someone's pod or something.
Sure, right. So I'm not saying that Nelson would, but
we get that too. We get that too. Like when TJ came on, he's like, "Look, guys, don't like start jumping like Jameis needs to be benched and he stinks, and the kicker needs to be cut." He's like, "Don't do that because I work for the Buccaneers, and I can't do that. Right, I can't back that up.
I can't." And you and I respect that, and we, and we, 100%.
And if you listen to the show, he knew we wouldn't have said it anyway.
Exactly. What does that say? Anyway, but my point being, and it's just why I'm frustrated, and honestly, I'm more frustrated at I don't know who I'm more frustrated at, but I just want to stop spinning this and just call it out for who it is. And we could probably look at the tape. Hell, Trevor Sycamore looked at the tape. He'll tell you who's playing soft. We'll see who it is. It'll be interesting to see what happens as this goes forward. But, I also call BS.
But it is a big chance for the secondary to bounce back.
It is. It is.
Right. Against the guy who, I was on a Panthers pod. We were on a Panthers pod together. Mm-hmm. And it seems the overall consensus is that the Panthers are winning despite this guy.
Yeah.
Kyle Allen, their quarterback.
Right. That's
so
literally
he's
what they
make
said.
Mistakes.
Yeah.
I alluded to earlier, he's having real trouble hanging on the ball in the pocket.
Uh-huh.
He might be the reincarnate of Dave Craig. I'll help you out here, Brent. He leads the league in all-time QB fumbles. Anytime you got near the guy, he'd fumble the ball.
From when? How old is that guy? When did he play, I guess?
I'm thinking probably Doug Williams, Steve Young.
Wow. Okay. That was a while back.
No, wait. Maybe not Doug Williams. That was Jim Zorn era. So, yeah, I guess, yes. I don't want to say it wasn't Josh Freeman, really. It was before that.
Yeah.
So I guess who was that mishmash of players? Well, okay, Steve Young, we'll say.
Okay.
He only played for us like a year, maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
Who was our quarterback between Young and Josh Freeman?
Steve Young and Josh Freeman?
Yeah, around there.
Josh
80s.
Freeman.
Mid-80s.
Josh Freeman was our quarterback 3 quarterbacks ago.
Yeah, so anyway, Dave Craig was late 80s, early 90s
okay.
maybe.
Yeah, you had me. I was going, wait a minute. Steve Young was a long time ago. Josh Freeman was our quarterback.
Saying who was between there. That's the guy I was trying to
Brad
say.
Brad Johnson, Brad Gronkowski, Sean King, whole bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Before Brad Johnson.
Sean King.
Before Sean.
The guy who's an announcer that I don't like, but other people seem to like him.
John Lynch?
No. Trent something? Dilfer?
Trent Dilfer. You don't like Dilfer?
No, I don't.
You like Booger?
Do what?
You like Booger?
I like him as a Buccaneers fan. I like it when he comes out for the draft pick and says, "My Tampa Bay Buccaneers," but not when it follows up with "Select Roberto Aguayo." Anyway, let's move on.
I like Dilfer. I don't like Booger.
All right, fair enough. Let's move on.
As announcers.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Ren, that's all the headlines that I had. Let's take a look at this injury report as we look at this Panthers game and take a look at what team we're actually going to be putting out on the field. We already mentioned Zach Bailey, who is part of the injury report, but he's been not waived. He's been put on IR, so he's not going to count. Alex Kappa, by the way, broke his arm and kept playing.
He did.
Kept playing. Guess he didn't know he broke his arm, or he didn't care.
I had a joke, and I totally forgot about it.
Dang.
Yeah.
It'll come back to you, and you'll interrupt me, I'm sure. Let's keep going. Alex Kappa, Jack Sitchy, DeMar Dotson, Brashad Perryman are all out with various injuries. Brashad Perryman and DeMar Dotson both out with hamstring injuries. DeMar Dotson is out with a broken arm, and Jack Sitchy is out with that dislocated, bent backwards elbow. So I would expect these guys to probably be on this injury report next week as well. Mike Edwards had a little bit of a hamstring issue, was limited in today's practice, but he is questionable, which means he is likely to play. TJ Logan has an ankle injury. I could see him being a guy that maybe gets sat out. For what he actually does for the team.
Which is nothing.
Well, he stands in the end zone and waves his arms.
Yeah.
That's his whole job. This whole roster spot is to stand in the end zone and wave his arms.
It was 3rd and 3 in the fourth quarter, and it was a critical situation, and they pulled out Barber and Rojo to put him in.
Yeah, and
then ran a rub route and threw it to Bobo Wilson.
Right.
What the flying?
I had a note that I didn't go into during the instant cast of why.
Yeah, what is that?
I skipped that one. Shaq Barrett has...
mark that under you outsmarted yourself.
Right. Probably the most concerning, I guess, to me right now, not really even concerning because he's listed as questionable, which means he probably will play, is Shaq Barrett with an oblique. I don't think this is the first time I've ever seen obliques listed as an injury.
Isn't that a birthstone?
No.
Oh.
No.
Opal?
You mean it? Obelisk. No. All right. Also on the injury report is...
Cheryl can't say obelisk.
Really?
Yeah. There's probably about 120 obelisks in the city of Rome.
And she couldn't say it?
She couldn't say it.
That must have been the joke that never stopped. Chris Godwin.
I'm not allowed to laugh at her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can understand that. Chris Godwin and Ndamukong Suh, Josh Wells, all on the injury report, although Josh was listed with a non-football related injury. I understand that was due to his wife giving birth. And if that's true, congratulations, Josh Wells. But the other guys are listed at full participation and they will be playing. That is us. I did this backwards. Normally I start with the other team. Yeah. But that's us. But Shaq Barrett, Mike Edwards, and TJ Loken probably all will play. They all made the trip. The other guys will not. Carolina Panthers, Natrell Jameson, Greg Little, Christian Miller, Cam Newton, and Trey Turner are all out and did not travel with the team, from what I'm told. As far as...
you know why Cam didn't go?
Because he got retired by the league? I don't know why.
No, because he didn't get the front seat at the divider.
Nobody would give him... He couldn't pay him $1,500 to move?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He tried to give the strength coach $1,200 to move.
He said, no, man, I'm good. Did you see pictures of these guys on this airplane going over to London?
Yeah.
And they all had like so much room in front of them.
Yeah, well, they're like on an angle. It's basically they're laying in a chaise lounge.
Yeah.
That's sort of like cubicled off, and you got your own like little private TV, like your own little media center. It's it's a baby couch. Yeah. Is what it is, and they're not like facing forward. They're all facing like like
kind
a parking
diagonal
lot
in.
space. Yeah. And it's just like, and it's like, all right, it's that's the way to travel, man.
Yeah.
Either that.
It's that. You know what it is? It's that the movie Inception. When they're in Inception, it's that. You remember that?
Nope.
Where they're on the air. Did you ever see the movie?
Yep.
Yeah. So they're. You guys know what I'm talking about out there who are listening. It's the part where they're on the airplane and they're all like putting themselves to sleep on the airplane. Anyway, so they're all gone. As far as being on the injury report for the Panthers, a couple of notable names: Eric Reed and Shaq Thompson. You also referenced earlier, and then outside of that, everybody else is fine. Christian McCaffrey was out with a back problem from Wednesday, but he was full participation Thursday and Friday, although they didn't really practice on Thursday at all. So that is the way this team is looking going into. We've already talked a lot about the game, what we expect to see as far as the quarterback, their offensive line, their defense. The big consensus, they're winning in spite of their quarterback kid. They're really winning off the backs of the defense.
Oh, yeah.
If the defense is able to shut. So I guess we could have this conversation. We're looking basically at our offense versus their defense. Mm-hmm. Now, our offense, despite everything else, has been able to put up some points. They've been able to move the ball and put up some points. Yeah. Do you anticipate that to continue in this game, or is this really going to be kind of a low-scoring game? What do you think?
Well, I mean, 24 points isn't necessarily low scoring. Depends on who you're talking to. Mm-hmm. But I think it's sort of like the games Jameis has had. We had like Skitty Jameis, San Francisco, game manager Jameis, good Jameis, great Jameis, Skitty Jameis, right, without the interceptions,
right,
like was pumping the ball, wouldn't let it fly, didn't trust what he see, wouldn't put his foot in the ground and throw. Mm-hmm. I expect a game manager Jameis. If it's great weather, we might see a Giants Jameis, like a good Jameis. You know what I mean?
All right.
Because I think they're really going to concentrate, like the deep routes. Mm-hmm. They won't be taking nearly as many shots.
Okay.
Just because, like we talked about, because of the line, they're going to identify where they're going to want to attack on the field, mm-hmm, and they're going to keep, at least what I would do, I would keep rotating people in on that side, in the slot outside,
right,
and just with different players in there, and just keep pumping the ball, and then of course, like I said earlier, feed Rojo and feed Barber, and just hoard the ball, and don't let them have it. So, and I expect the defense to come up big with some turnovers. So, if those turnovers turn into like scooping scores and pick sixes, then we're talking about a different thing here. But since the teams know each other so well, and it might be slippery out there, it's going to be probably colder than they're used to, going to be windier than they're used to. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking game, kind of like game control, get Jameis, and like I said, 24-17.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, Ren, there's only one thing left to do, and that is the thing that only you and I care about. Inactives.
Yep.
Who is not dressing? We already know that Alex Kappa, Jack Sitchy, DeMar Dotson, and Rashad Perriman are out. Zach Bailey does not count on this because he is already released, and his replacement will be dressing, so we're told. So that's 4 people who are out. I need 3 more.
Hudson.
Yep.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
No,
he's Mr. Inactive.
Oh, my boy, my countryman,
Patrick
my
O'Connor.
liege, Patrick O'Connor.
All right.
And you already mentioned him, and I think he's not wanting very long for this team, and it's TJ Logan.
You think TJ Logan? All right.
I think he's nicked up, and he's nicked up in the ankle, and the only thing he really does is return kickoffs, which, but mostly, like you said, he waves them off. But if he does get one, why not put somebody back there that's healthy? And right. he's really just eating up a roster spot at this point.
He is.
It's like carrying a third quarterback.
Yeah, of all the things that BA has done with this roster, this is the one that is the most dirt cutter-ish, head-scratching to me.
Jaquiz Roger-esque.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It just...
At least Cutter used Rodgers. Well, yeah. I like the move at the beginning. Like, if you can get a guy who you think is somebody explosive in the return game, go get him.
Sure.
If he can help you on third downs, okay, he's a good, receiver out of the backfield, can make some guys miss in space. That's fine. But the problem is that Ronald Jones, all of a sudden, doesn't drop the ball anymore.
Right.
So there's no point to put in TJ Logan.
Right.
Because Ronald Jones is just as good, if not a better, because I can't really know because I've never seen TJ Logan touch the football. But, every time Ronald gets like a screen pass or something, it goes for a first down. And I'm at the point where he only gets like 12 yards. I'm disappointed. I'm like, 12 yards, that's it. They got the first down, but I'm expecting, make a guy miss and off to the races. Right. But, so there's really, like you said, I guess like you agreed with me, like he's just eating up a roster spot and there's no reason. Like Dare can return those. He gets he's brought back 2 in 5 games.
Right.
And the defense is giving up 30 points a game. It's not like, they're like getting 2 chances a game and he returns like, half of them. He's getting like 5-6 chances a game and he's brought back 2.
And we also have Bobo Wilson who does all the punt returns. I mean, I know that kick return and punt return are theoretically different. They're still really similar. Like, we've got guys that can do this. Why are we eating up a roster spot?
Never understood that. I don't think they're that much different.
I know. Like, I agree.
It's if you can, what it is for me at least, it's like if you can punt return, then you can kickoff return.
Right.
You can kickoff return, but not necessarily punt return because, they're guys coming down full speed, right in your face, right as you're catching the ball. You're going to have to catch the ball a lot of times, the guy yelling, screaming right in your ear. Like that's a lot harder than, catching a ball. And by the time you get it, the guy's still, 45 yards away from you.
Right. So, I don't understand. I will tell you, I like your list a lot better than I like mine.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to start making you go first.
That's fine. You say that every week. We'll see what happens.
I do. I keep forgetting.
I agree with you about Tanner Hudson.
Yeah.
But my other 2 guys are different.
Ooh.
And the first guy that I'm sitting this week, and this really has everything to do with his newness on the team, is Noah Dawkins.
I was gonna,
the new guy.
But there's no depth.
I just I get it. I don't think they're gonna sit TJ Logan. I would like for them to. I really would. I don't think they will, simply because I don't want to say that Bruce Arians seems to have this loyalty to this guy, or he likes him for whatever reason. So if he can play, I think he's going to be out there. But the other one, this one is due 100% to a comment that Bowles made in his press conference.
All right.
And my last guy is Jamel Dean.
Okay.
Who is back healthy. Yeah. He was a surprise inactive for me last week.
Yeah, me too.
And I think he is in line to also be another surprise active this week. And I wish I had inactive this week. And what Bowles had said was, I'm sorry, I don't have the quote in front of me, but it was something to the effect of, yeah, listen, if there's a package we're going to play, if there's something we're going to do, we'll put him out there. But, otherwise we'll kind of hold him back, because they were asking about if Jamel Dean was ready to play.
Because they're kind of like what they did last week with White.
Yeah.
They activate him, but they didn't play him.
Right. Because well, why rush him back, right? And you're like, well,
so
then
you
why'd you
think
activate him?
they're taking the sort of that same outlook with Dean?
Yeah. That's my only.
That's a good pickup. I like that.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I put that out there, though, because I like a lot of people, I'm anxious to see Jamel Dean, certainly Devin White get back out on the field, but that's my. It's just this Noah Dawkins where he's so new. Though I would like to see him do something. I mean, that'd be cool. Let's see if he can get in there and do something that Buchanan couldn't. But I do think
the 2 plays Buchanan played, he's not going to play.
Right. So if he plays 3, then he did something that Buchanan didn't. So we'll see. But that's who I got. So we'll see what happens come probably, I don't know what, 6:30 or so Sunday night or Sunday morning, I guess. So
the game's at 9:30.
Yeah, but they put out the inactives list like several hours before.
Oh,
right.
Gotcha.
Right.
I think it's an hour and 45 minutes for the game.
Is that what it is? All right, cool.
Yeah.
So, 8 something. All right, Ren. Well, that is going to do it for us. Do you have any final thoughts before we get, because I want to talk about the instant cast here just for a minute. I know there was some question from our last episode.
Sure. Final thoughts. Bucs win. We go 500. We will be 500. We get a win in Jolly Old England. I'd like to see anybody out there who's going to there's this bar, or do you know it off the top of your head? The one that sort of the UK Bucs have made home base. I think I saw Casey was there with Simeon Rice. And I know the guys from Pewter Report are going there, Scott and Smith. So I want to see the videos and pictures of that place, man.
Okay.
Let's. I'm asking, not you personally, Brent.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to go over there and take videos for me.
Fine.
So that's what I want to see. I expect the Bucs to win. I expect it to really be sort of a close game throughout, sort of a hard-fought NFC South battle. But, I feel like I've been saying this a lot lately. I'm pretty sure I got it from you. By hook or by crook, man, let's I don't care how you do it, just win this game. It's a division game.
Yeah.
I will not yell at you for looking terrible any way, shape, or form until Tuesday's podcast. Just to win the game.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, especially since this is the last game that leads us into our bye week. I don't want to go 2 weeks with back-to-back losses. Nobody does. It'd be 3 weeks. Yeah. Go 3 weeks with back-to-back losses. That just I'm not. It's not something I'm willing to do. Not in this new era. So yes, let's bring it back up. Now that's a personal plea. That's not a prediction. That's just damn it. I don't want to go.
Please, Mike Evans, can I not have a loss?
Please, Evans. Please, Mike. All right, Ren. Instant cast. I know we talked a little bit on the last episode of whether or not it was going to be right after the game or if it was going to be later. Do what?
Yeah, we decided to go right after the game.
We decided to go.
Idea.
Yeah, we thought that'd be a great idea.
Give our international callers a chance to call in.
Yeah.
Any fans that are over there a chance to call in.
Yes.
Maybe some live Facebook from the pub.
Yes, that would all be nice. But then it all got bamboozled.
Oh, really? What happened?
Yes. My wife, not realizing what was going on, was like, hey, I got this thing for you to take the kids to and to go do it. And it's at 1:00 in the afternoon on Sunday. And you can just watch the game on DVR when you get back home. And then that'll give you enough time to do your instant cast, which is not till 10:00 at night.
And you can't do it. Oh, really?
So,
I can.
Okay. All right.
Which one is it? Is it lack of communication from your end, or is it she don't give a rat's ass you're doing what she says?
It's both, actually. It's actually both in this particular case. So the instant cast will be at its normal time for us, 10:00.
Are you going to get to watch the game?
I will get to watch the game. I may have to watch the end of it when I get home.
Gotcha. What are you guys doing?
We're going to see the symphony, Ren.
Which symphony is it? It's not like the Jacksonville quartet or something.
No, it's like the Jacksonville Symphony. They're doing one of those. I think they're doing one of those you watch the movie and they play the music live while you watch the movie. I think it's one of those.
What's the movie?
I want to say it's one of the Harry Potter movies. I'm not sure. I want to say it's one of those. So, yeah, it's not going to be terrible, but it just bottom line out of all of that, Instacast will be at our regular time, 10:00 Sunday night. Phone lines will be open. Those of you that are international, I apologize. We really wanted to open it up and try to get you guys in. That's just not going to work this particular week. So,
but Harry Potter, too important.
But wife, I love her. All right, Ren, that's it. Actually, I guess. Why don't you tell folks where they can find you on the internet?
Sure. Best place to find me is on Twitter, if that's allowed by Brent's wife. I'm kidding. I've met Penny. She's wonderful. I like her a lot.
too.
At Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football.
And if you guys want to get in touch with me, you can find me at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. And the show is at the Pewtercast on Twitter and on Facebook. And you can send us emails to thepewtercast@gmail.com with your thoughts on the game. We will read that on an upcoming episode of the Pewtercast. Hey, iTunes reviews, those are also cool. And we will also read those on an upcoming episode of the Pewtercast there. So, all right, guys, that's it. Go Bucs! What, no smart-ass comment at the end of the show here?
I couldn't remember. I got them all out.